working on anything that might help their chances. Despite the chaos, despite the terror, they were still fighting. Humanity was not going down without a fight, and Elara, she was not going to let them lose. She keyed in the final sequence. This is it. The coordinates are locked. Let's see if we can escape this hellhole. Her fingers hovered over the keys. The next few seconds would decide everything. Would they escape the collapse? Would humanity survive? She didn't know. But if there was one thing she knew for sure, it was this: humanity would never stop fighting. And neither would she. The cold, sterile air of the command center felt suffocating. Elara leaned over the console, eyes scanning the data as she tried to make sense of the mess before her. The universe was dying, and their time was running out. The anomalies were spreading faster than anyone could predict, devouring entire galaxies like an unstoppable force. And in the midst of it all, humanity had one shot at survival. She slammed her fist on the console in frustration. The calculations weren't working. The coordinates for the escape route were unstable, fluctuating wildly. Time was slipping away. "Damn it!" she muttered, rubbing her eyes. The weight of the task was heavy, and the loneliness of it crushed her. She couldn't do this alone. Behind her, Riven's voice cut through the tension. "Elara." She didn't turn. She didn't need to. Riven had been with her through every crisis, every war, every disaster. If anyone could understand the pressure she was under, it was him. "I know," she said, without turning to face him. "I know we're running out of time." But even as the words left her mouth, she knew that wasn't the worst of it. The worst part was the nagging feeling that they weren't just racing against time. They were running out of options. The universe was collapsing. The cosmic forces that had once sustained it were now devouring everything in their wake. There was no way to stop it, not until they had help. "Riven, you said there was a chance. We need their technology. We need—" "I know what you need," Riven interrupted, his voice tight. "And I know who you're talking about, but you have to understand something, Elara." His footsteps came closer, and she could feel his presence behind her, almost like a physical weight. "They don't trust us, and why should they?" The words hit her harder than expected. The they he was talking about were the Zari, a mysterious alien race with knowledge of the cosmic collapse. They had been silent observers for millennia, and humanity had only recently made contact. But the Zari were ancient, powerful, and deeply distrustful of humans. Every attempt to earn their trust had failed. Until now. "We have no choice," she said, turning to face him. Her voice was calm, but underneath, there was a tremor she couldn't hide. "If we don't make this work, we're all gone. The universe will consume everything, us included." Riven's gaze softened, but the doubt remained in his eyes. "And you think the Zari will help us just because we're desperate?" Elara paused. She wanted to say yes. She wanted to believe in humanity's ability to convince anyone, even an ancient, enigmatic race, that they were worth saving. But she wasn't so sure. "The Zari value resilience," she said slowly. "They've seen our species fight, adapt, survive against impossible odds. Maybe they'll see that. Maybe they'll see that we're worth the risk." Riven sighed, his expression hardening. "And what if they don't? What if they're playing us?" "I don't know," Elara whispered. She didn't know what else to say. "But we have to try. If we don't, then the collapse will claim everything, and humanity will go with it." There was a long silence. Riven stared at her, his face unreadable. But then he nodded. "All right, but if this goes wrong, Elara, don't say I didn't warn you." With that, Elara reached for the comms. The Zari were willing to meet, but she couldn't shake the feeling that the fragile thread of hope they were hanging on to might snap the moment they made contact. The screen in front of her blinked to life, revealing the alien visage of the Zari ambassador. His dark, reflective eyes stared at her, unreadable. "We are here," the ambassador said, his voice low and full of ancient authority. "But know this: trust must be earned. You must prove that humanity is worth the risk. We will help you, but only if you show us that your kind has the strength to survive the consequences." Elara swallowed hard. We will. The room was silent except for the soft hum of the comms. She had no idea if this would work, but she knew one thing: humanity's survival depended on this gamble. The weight of that realization hit her like a physical blow. But she stood tall. She would fight. She would adapt. She would prove humanity's worth, no matter the cost. "Prepare to meet us," the Zari ambassador said, his voice cold and distant. "We will see if your kind is truly as strong as you claim." Elara looked at Riven, her heart racing. There was no going back now. They had done everything they could to reach this point, but the real challenge was just beginning. "Let's make it count," she whispered, and in that moment she believed they would. The dim lights of the command center flickered as Elara slammed her fist against the control panel. A loud crack reverberated through the room as a nearby screen sputtered and went black. Her breath came in heavy gasps, her mind struggling to process the failure. Another attempt at jumping through the rift had gone wrong. The calculations had been perfect, the coordinates precise. Yet here they were once again, staring at the vast blackness of a collapsing universe, unable to escape. "We're running out of time," Elara muttered, half to herself, half to Riven, who was standing a few paces away, staring at the same screen. "We only have one more shot before everything falls apart. If this doesn't work—" "I know." Riven cut her off, his voice rough, but the edge of his concern still present. "If this doesn't work, it's over. The whole galaxy's gone. Everything, everyone." Elara ran her hands over her face, trying to focus, but the pressure was too much. Her thoughts were a blur. Each failure felt like a nail in the coffin. The universe was crumbling, and they were trapped in it. Their one hope, the only thing keeping them moving forward, was that one last chance to escape, if they could figure out how to make it work. But how? Nothing had gone right. Every calculation, every jump, every experiment had ended in failure. In the corner of the room, a heated argument broke out between the engineers. "We're wasting time," one of them shouted. "We need to shut it down before." She turned back to the control panel, the lights above her flickering in time with her racing heartbeat. There had to be something. There had to be a way. A thought sparked in her mind. A theory they hadn't considered. A risky, unproven theory. But what else was left to try? It was the only chance they had left. "Riven," she said, her voice steadying as she moved to a console, pulling up the theoretical models. "There's a chance we can generate enough energy from the rift itself to stabilize the dimensional passage. But it'll need to be done manually, no automated systems, nothing pre-programmed. We'll have to guide the ship through it by hand. But if it works, we can get out, and we'll have a chance to survive." Riven's face tightened. "It's insane. You're telling me we manually steer through a dying universe? If we don't, we die anyway." She turned back to him, determination in her eyes. "Do you trust me?" He hesitated for a moment, then nodded, his jaw set. "I trust you." The tension in the room was unbearable. There were no guarantees, no promises. This was it, the only shot left. "We either take this risk now," Elara said, her voice rising, "or we all die together. No more waiting." A silence fell over the command center, the weight of her words settling in. Slowly, the murmurs died down, and the team gathered around her, each person understanding the gravity of the situation. They had no choice now. Elara began the sequence. The controls were in her hands now, and as the ship trembled, the weight of the moment pressed down on her. The ship was their last chance, and she would either guide them to safety or lead them straight into oblivion. But humanity would not go down quietly. They would fight until the very last breath. "We're doing this," she whispered. "Hold on."